join me in welcoming Chief Curator of Film at MoMA, Raj Roy.
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's my pleasure to welcome one of our guests this evening. Please welcome Claire Foy.
Jessie is coming. She's just stuck in traffic.
L.A.
We're sitting there.
lived up to L.A. tonight. She'll be with us.
She'll make a really great entrance, I bet, as well.
I told Claire, this is our chance. Whatever she wants to say.
Got to get it off my chest now before she gets it.
But I do want to thank you for being here, and I want to thank you for your support of this picture. Clearly, it's something that you believe in. You dedicated yourself extraordinarily to the work, but the work continues in getting the message out. And I kind of wanted to start by talking about gathering this group, and maybe we can just take this opportunity, if you could share with us, if you wouldn't mind, your experience of talking to Sarah Polley, your director, your writer, about this, and how she and yourself talked about finding this character for you, and was it Salome that she brought to you initially? Was it always her? And how did you bring yourself to the character?
I think Sarah met probably everyone who was working for this film, or in my head, that's what I imagined, that everybody would basically be fighting to get in it. Because when I read it, it was such an original, unique script, and she's such a brilliant director. I like Stories We Tell, I think, is one of my favourite documentaries. So, that in my head, that was what would be happening. And so when we had a Zoom, because it was deep in COVID, is that her? I can hear her. Jessie Buckley. Yay! Really good entrance. Well done. Thank you.
Hi, Jessie. I'm Raj. Hi. Such a pleasure to meet you. Thank you for making this spicier than it would have been if you had already been here, right? It's got to be special for the Hammer.
I was just saying something really important. Sorry, yes. No, I wasn't. Carry on.
No, but everything good. There was an accident, hopefully not too near you. Was there?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But you're all good.
I'm fine.
Claire took the first incoming by herself. So we're talking about gathering this group and how your initial kind of conversations with Sarah and how you found the character. And so Claire was in the middle of describing her experience of getting to know Sarah through her work, her earlier work, and then finding this character.
Yes. No, I was saying that I think that when Sarah was talking to everybody, it was with it was very open. It was like every character was on the table. Obviously within your playing range, I think. That's what it felt like. Because she asked me, I know that had been given the script with owner in mind. But that was never going to happen. And
because
just I'm not Rooney. Like, I just don't know anyone who can do what she can do and make something so genuine and sweet and not be kind of saccharine and too much. Like, she just has an amazing ability just to be there and be completely open and spiritual, which I don't know whether I've got. Anyway, when she asked me what character I really strongly felt about it was Salome, like just straight away, because I'd read the book by that point and I was just like, she's the one for me. But expecting her to say, well, I don't really see that happening, so goodbye. And then, she gave me a crack at it, so
thank goodness.
Was great. Thank you. Well, for me, thank God. Yeah.
And Jessie, what was your experience of like talking to Sarah first about this and how you found your character?
Well, a bit similarly. I think I can't really remember. I can't remember who she said. Who do you fancy. So I fancy Marieke. And being honest, when I read the script, because I hadn't read the book, and I was like, I have no idea how you do this. It felt so foreign, like that. The conversation felt so foreign. The settings felt so foreign. I couldn't even. I just had never read anything like that, and I'd never read, kind of a debate like that would, I guess, happen in real time, where the kind of internal conflict within the relationships between these women to try and imagine something better than something that they'd always understood about themselves would happen. And I guess I was drawn to Marieke in a way because I didn't understand. I knew that woman, but I'd never had a chance to understand why that woman might be that way. And I felt like really drawn to that, and I really kind of feel fiercely protective of her because, in a way, she has so much internalized violence from a legacy of violence that I have no idea what I'm talking about right now.
No, we're with you.
I know, I don't.
Sounds like you do.
No, she's really good at pretending.
Well, here.
Anyway, I met Sarah. I did a shit Zoom audition.
So
no
okay,
joke.
so that's actually an interesting thing. This wasn't like you all got in a happy room and you were eating pasta and like let's talk. This was pandemic era, full on pandemic era. It's still here, but you did this on Zoom. You met through this on Zoom before you actually got in a room.
Yeah, and anyone who's done a Zoom audition will know how hard and horrible they are. They're such a weird thing, but also, she's amazing. Like Sarah is such an incredible force. And I think the thing that really drew me to wanting to do this was watching her documentary, The Stories We Tell. And if there was anything that was going to give me kind of solace that somebody could lead this from such a powerful, vulnerable place, it was her, because she was able to hold so many perspectives in that documentary, and it was such a personal story to her, and I was like, wow, that's what this film needs, and that's the kind of leader this film needs.
Yeah. 2 endorsements for Stories We Tell, so please
Watch
add it
it.
to your queue. No, and just add it to the kind of giant list of genius qualities that Sarah has that she can hire well off of Zoom. I have not had that experience. It's really freaking hard, anyway. But then, okay, so then you found your characters, or at least you've pointed to the one you're like, I want that, and I want to try that, but then coming together as a clan of actors, as artists. I read something that Fran McDormand, who is in the picture but also produced, kind of wanted to set you guys all up on an isolated community somewhere in a farm and have you live that way and like really Fran it out.
Very Fran.
Yeah.
Very Fran.
Is that what happened?
No. Fran didn't she bring a caravan? Not a caravan, a Winnebago.
The Nomad
But
Land. She still had
she
Nomad
drove
Land?
to
Oh.
She
Toronto,
drove
and
there
she was
with
living
her in a van.
Winnebago.
Yeah, on the Mennonite site, waiting for people to join. It's just never going to happen. Because I think they realised that they couldn't shoot, what they wanted to do with with the light changing all day, every day. So unfortunately, the barn was in a studio, or not a studio, like a exhibition centre, because there was so much shooting in Toronto that we were in like this weird COVID, they weren't using it because of COVID, exhibition centre, which had a corrugated iron roof. So every time it rained, we had to stop filming, which is sort of the opposite of why you shoot in a studio. But yeah, so we did. When we were out, though, we loved it. When we were in the colony, because basically it was a farm outside Toronto, and they built the barn and they built all the houses and they replanted the fields with soy like 9 months before they started shooting. It felt amazing, and we were then able to take that back with us to the studio to kind of remember it.
Yeah. And so but were there exercises that you did in preparation? I mean, we just want to know, right? Like normal humans want to know what you extraordinary humans do to get in this place where you can do that. Oh yeah. What you do up there is extraordinary and clearly is tapping into something that Sarah provided for you. But was there any kind of preparation in getting into that real place of intimacy that obviously the barn scenes either, I don't know if they necessitated for you, but they delivered for us?
We just hung out.
That's it?
We just kind of, we just hung out. I think we couldn't really afford to take that home, or, it was too much. We were doing that 150, we were doing scenes that were 150 takes over 3 days. So you kind of got to leave it in the attic at a certain point. And then we'd all kind of schlop back with our socks and sandals to the green room and talk about boyfriends and girlfriends and wine. And, we kind of needed to come away from it. Yeah. But I think we did, the first scene we probably shot was washing the feet, didn't we? We were all giggling like we were kind of in school, being like, whoa, in the feet.
But also it was weird. We did a week of rehearsal on Zoom, and then we did a week of rehearsal in the hayloft, but masked up and visored up. So none of us could hear one another or look each other in the eye. And so when we were actually, and then it's that unceremonious thing when you actually start shooting. You feel like someone should do a speech or something, but then you just sort of find yourself, and then you're rolling, and we were like, what are we doing? We don't know what we're doing.
You did launch straight into speach.
I did,
early doors.
I was always doing a speech. That's my character. But yeah, it's weird when you just suddenly start shooting. But I think that's what Sarah does so cleverly, is we're all very, very different actors and very different people and very different performers, but we all have a very similar ethic when it comes to working with each other and community, and that no one is more important than the group, and that we just were all so just immediately just went, right, we're here. Hello. I barely know you, but I'm going to start touching you and being, but you know what I mean, cuddling you and, talking. We're going to start talking very intimately about things straight away. That's just who we all were. So
you running on stage and hugging, that was part of the process of making this movie in a little way. No, anyway, that was a bad.
No, but weirdly, the women were very that's the one thing that Miriam, who wrote the book, was very clear about, that the women were very tactile with each other. They loved to laugh. And so what was happening in the film was also, we just laughed all the time. We were so silly. So silly. And just straight away, very close. Yeah.
Incredible. Especially the part about the masks and the visors. Wow. More and more miraculous. But so, serious note, the three kind of choice points, right? Do nothing, stay and fight, and leave. It's a conflict that's in all of them, that they're processing it. It also feels very directly, if we're paying attention, in all of us, right? In things in our lives that we have to grapple with. And so this kind of internal conflict versus the public, at least within the realm of the cohort that's having the discussion, public conversation or argument. Did you process any of that internal conflict that's obviously in your character, right? The things that she has to process versus what she is saying or arguing in front of the group? Because sometimes I would perceive that, sometimes you argue things that you don't believe, right? Because you just feel you have to win or you have to make this point. Was that part of what you put into this at all, or am I just projecting?
I don't know. I think, we all probably did. I mean, these women have never had that conversation or that thought, or even been allowed to speak that conflict out between each other and within themselves ever in their life. They created a space where that could happen, and I don't think it was ever for any of them a kind of black and white experience. These women transcended through the conflict to find something new about themselves through that. And for me, anyway, I don't know, it was never, even though, I kind of fly the flag of do nothing, it wasn't just that for me. Like, it was a kind of wrangling mess of fear of not knowing where we're going. You know, sometimes it's better the devil you know. Like, it's maybe easier for Marika anyways. There was part of her that maybe felt it was easier to live or survive the life she'd always known in the hope that the next life will be better. But the thing that she came through is actually, no, there's enough to hope for in this life, and having a community around her to kind of break that spell and let her hope for that was kind of my experience anyway. What about you, Claire?
Oh, that was so lovely. It's weird because actually, I don't know whether this is just my stupidity as a person, but I couldn't hear some of the arguments. And I think that was Salome's lack of, she didn't want to hear the other arguments. Yeah. She sort of didn't have the space or time to have a theoretical debate about who's guilty and not guilty. She's like, there's bigger fish to fry in this room. And I think that I didn't really grasp, and that does happen to me quite a lot. Like, I can't ever really get ahead of my character in a story. I'm not very good at seeing the bigger picture of the story. Like, I'm pretty myopic in the sense that I'm like, from my character's point of view, I'm seeing what's happening as opposed to being able to see the arc of it. Which is why directors are really great to keep you aware of what's actually happening.
I think you're describing focus, actually, which is a good thing.
But so a lot of the arguments, watching it back, weirdly, I was like, oh, okay. Because you're so focused on going, no, 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 in your own head, or that's what Salome's doing, I think, that that you don't hear the nuance. And obviously I saw it and I did hear it as an actor because we did it, so many times. But really understanding the significance of what those conversations are, really seeing that Ona and Greta and Agatha are able to live in a world where they can discuss those things without attaching like such a strong reaction to it was pretty amazing. Because Salome's always like full foot on the pedal all the time. Yeah.
And she's someone we want to latch on to because of that, right? Because she's emanating strength, or at least the appearance of strength, which is something to be admired. That the question I had, kind of what scared you the most about your character, and what did you admire most about your character?
I think I didn't really realize it at the time, but the thing that I was scared of with Marika was how internalized that violence was. She wasn't, she didn't like herself very much, and I guess when that starts to get poked, how that expresses itself and how scary it is for that thing to start to kind of come out or get dissolved or change is scary. You have to let go. And I kind of tried and wanted to not judge this woman because in a way there is like this monster, that was like inside her, and the only way you kind of tame that monster is to kind of look it in the eyes. But the thing I don't know, I love her so much, and I've learned so much from her. And I think what I've loved about her is kind of, well, all of her, like in a way, these women, all of us have kind of had to be physically and emotionally contorted to be palatable to the world in some shape or form, but life's not that simple. And she's probably the ugliest contortion of what that embodies, and she has to break that. And when she does break that, the kind of pride she has of her daughter who catalyzed this whole thing is the thing that I loved the most about her. That moment when she's seeing her the whole way through, which is terrifying for her, because her daughter is saying, look, Mom, look, you can look in the mirror and you can see something else in yourself. And when she does do that and they have that moment, is just like, was amazing. Yeah.
I'll say with what I loved first, because basically everything. I loved everything. I just did. I did the way Miriam wrote her in the book was just. She did things like that pushed the boundaries of what the community meant. And Salome is not the most educated. Like, her sister is very educated. She's not very educated. Yet she would still. They used to have a bell. Did you know that moment in the book? They had a bell which told them what time to eat. Yeah. Like a big bell in the book. And Salome went and took the bell down, like a big massive bell, and just took it home with her. And they were like, "Oh, where's the bell?" And she said, "No one's going to tell me when to eat." And normally in that sort of community, you would get excommunicated, like you'd be out. But the thing about Salome was she couldn't be out because she was the community. And you see that in the film with her and Mayal do not get along. But she's the first person there to help her. Yeah. She's going to be the first person outside your door with food if you're ill. That's who she is. And she's basically the person you want in a fight. If there was like a bear outside your door, Salome doesn't think, she just does. She protects the people that she loves, and that's where she goes, and that's what she does. She doesn't think about things. And that's why with Ona, it's a really interesting difficulty that they have, because all Ona does is think. She doesn't do anything. Yeah. Salome doesn't. She's like, what are you doing? So she's, she just does. But I think I was scared, just as an actor, I think I was very scared about taking up that space. I've never done anything big. I've never done any big acting, really. For lots of reasons, I don't really know, but it sort of scares me being big, because I'm like, oh no, because there's other people here and it's been embarrassing, and you're just scared that someone's going to say your face looks a bit strange when you're a bit you're doing that. And so I was just a bit afraid of. I hadn't played a character where someone had said go, spread your wings, off you go, be loud. Do it. Be aggressive. Be really, really aggressive. And so I was quite afraid of that. But as soon as I did it, I couldn't stop. So, so I loved it as well. But yeah, that was the biggest fear, was taking that space up, I suppose.
Don't stop. You take up space very well. It's great. So we'll have time for one or two questions from the audience. So get them ready, and an usher will come by and hand you a mic. While that's happening, I did want to pivot to the one gentleman in the room, and I have to say that there was space made for a man who had somehow proven his allyship, right? That was safe and that was welcomed in this community of women. I mean, it spoke to a lot of us that have been fortunate enough to find ourselves in that situation. A lot of times it's the gay boy, hi. A lot of times it's, the man who has been outcast himself, as is the case in Ben Wishaw's character, and he's spectacular. Maybe just talk a little bit about your experience of working with him. I mean, he's extraordinary, obviously, but obviously a lot of pressure on him as well, probably to. He does the opposite, right? He's not taking up space, and that's very much the point of his character.
I just don't think there's any. I can say this because he's not here. There's no one like him. No. I've never worked with an actor, a male actor, who just the idea that he took the part is a sign of who he is and what sort of an actor he is. He never felt like he wasn't part of the group. He never felt like he wasn't a really valued member. He never felt like his opinion didn't, he was just there. He was the fabric of it. It couldn't have been made without him. It couldn't have been made without any of the men on the crew, with any of the men involved in the movie. It was one of the, I have wanted to work with him for a very long time and just presumed I wouldn't. And getting to act one-on-one with him in a scene was just one of the best things in my professional life, because he's an open book. He wears his heart on his sleeve. I can't even say it enough, there's no one like him. No one like him.
And he made us all cry. He made me cry. But do we have audience questions? I'll leave it to there are ushers, I think, that are going to bring mics.
So, my question, the decision-making is so convoluted for all these individual women. Did you shoot it in order? And how did you help the younger actresses get through everything they had to get through watching these older women?
We did shoot in order, yeah. Apart from when we went outside and kind of we would jump out and get some stuff outside in the cornfields or soya fields. But for the younger girls, women, they, well, it's Sarah and Dee Dee and Fran who created a space where those women were completely supported. We had a therapist on set. And there were moments where it was too much, and Sarah would say, "Okay, we're going to come back when we're ready." And so there would be somebody there to go and talk with the girls, and to be honest, I feel like I learn more. I'm learning more from them than they're probably learning from me. Like, one of the great privileges of doing this job and going on the road with it is hearing them speak and articulating things at the age of 17 and 18, which I would never, ever, ever have known to say, to know that they can expect more from the world that they're stepping out into. And before they came into this job, they thought they had to be good girls. They thought they had to just be good at their job. And then they came to set and they realized that there was more expected of them. And now in turn, they realize they can expect more from the world. And I feel like if that is the future, we're going to be fine.
Amen. I actually had a follow on that. What was your experience of working with Judith Ivey and Sheila McCarthy, who were kind of, and Fran, obviously. Sarah's more of your generation, like working with the more established generation as well.
Just, obviously there were many different generations and all of us learned from each other, but also just it was such an egalitarian, equal set. And it never felt like anybody had there was no hierarchy, and that meant that you would be having I would be having the same conversation with Judith as I would be with Kate, who's the younger, and everyone would have something to offer. And it felt like I spoke to, they're both mothers, I'm a mother, I spoke to Judith and Sheila a lot about how on earth they continue to have a career and have a child. But that also was, all the girls, we were all involved in all the conversations all the time. So loads, basically. But I also don't want to diminish any group in that by saying that any particular, everyone had so much to offer. And like Jessie said, we learned, like, the younger girls, I mean, it's rare that you get to work generationally with so many different people, and it was just really encouraging that everyone was sort of on the same page still. And
that was their first job. Like, they'd never acted before. Liv she'd made a short film during the pandemic. I can't remember the name of it. And Sarah saw this short and cast her from the short that she was in and directed. But yeah, I mean, it was like effortless. They were just so there. But I do think that was because of the space that Sarah created. And it wasn't just the cast. It was like the crew were also supported. A lot of the crew members had been, had trauma and had grown up in situations similar to this. And they had as much support and fed in as much to the creative process as any of us there, And that is Sarah. She's an extraordinary leader and leads with utter vulnerability and heart. And there should be more people like her.
Yes, applause.
Very true.
We have time for one more audience question, if there is one. I see a hand up. Just wait for the usher to come up, please.
Hi. Oh my God. That's a lot. Okay.
You're doing
Don't worry,
great.
it's a safe
Doing
space.
great.
Safe space.
We're all in this together.
It's like you're in the attic.
Right. I was really moved by the line about finding faith in God that's separate from power and religion. And my experience in faith has certainly been similar, but around other people who believe in God, I found a little bit of discrepancy around the topic of being transgender, and which I am. And when I saw the character of Melvin, I was like really moved. And of course, it was like recognizable to me when they were calling Melvin she, but in the end, when they decided to call Melvin Melvin, I was interested if like that was rooted in the book or if that was a decision of Sarah. And if it was like, was that to show respect to the actor or was it to show respect to that person's journey in their gender? If that was ever a discussion, I'm just curious.
I mean, that's definitely a Sarah question. And she would have an incredibly eloquent answer to that because she does to everything. I do know from what we have picked up in things that she said in other Q&As that Nettie Melvin is a character in the book and their journey is the same in the movie as it is in the book. But what Sarah was very keen to show was that Melvin was always Melvin and it wasn't the traumatic act that happened to them that made them make a decision to become Melvin. It was that they'd always been Melvin and suddenly the world made more sense to them that in the situation they were now living in, that they could be open about that now. But yeah, and August was extraordinary. And I know that August and Sarah had many, many conversations about it and explored that. And we were just lucky enough to be there to witness the outcome of those conversations.
So, look, I want to thank you again for being here. Claire and I were talking backstage about how critical it is to share this film in particular with audiences and to engage with them. So thank you both for being here. And thank you for helping us, through this picture, confront rage and fear and turn it into courage. So thank you so much. Jessie Buckley, Claire Foy.
Thank you.